The next 13 minutes into Jen Mccabes' testimony, and here are 8 takeaways that made me go, Siri, directions to the closest bridge. This was the first time that you see Jen, real, authentic Jen. Lally asked about the phone call in the morning. Jen is emoting sadness. Within a split second, half a second, from sadness, she goes to irritation because Karen was screaming. Karen had a feeling something was off, knew something was going on, and she knew who to call because she knew who the fucking ringleader was. More important than anything, any kind of sadness, any kind of tragedy or loss, is that Karen was screaming so much that she imitates her.
Is that a normal thing, that Kaylee would be calling you at 4:53 in the morning on a Saturday?
No.
So you answer the call, is that correct?
Yes.
When you answer the call, who, if anyone, is initially on the other end?
Initially, it's Kaylee.
And what, if anything, did Kaylee say to you?
That John didn't come home and Karen wanted to talk to me.
And even in that initial call, when you're speaking to Kaylee, what, if anything, do you hear sort of in the background when you're talking?
Karen screaming.
And could you hear what she was screaming?
She was just screaming, Jen, Jen, Jen.
This just chaps her ass. Look at how irritated she is that Karen was screaming at Jen. This is the fucking real tragedy here. Trumps anything else. Not Kaylee being sad, not a missing person. This is her 9/11. Jen, 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 Jen.
Fairly loudly, is that correct?
Extremely.
Now, at some point, does the defendant get on the phone with you?
She does.
And what, if any, conversation do you have with her at that?
She proceeds to scream my name multiple times, and she tells me that John didn't come home, they got into a fight, and that she left him at the waterfall.
And here we see more fine acting 101. Lally asked about their conversation and what happened when she got on the phone with Karen. Oh, I don't know. I was in such a sound sleep. She's reenacting herself getting out of a sleep. More acting, more acting. She's in such a nice slumber that she's seeing in her mind her reawakening. I was still kind of, what was happening? I wasn't sure.
And how do you respond?
I had just woken up. I was confused. I didn't know what she was talking about. I was like, what are you talking about? And then she, told me that they had gotten into a fight and she left him there. And now where is he? And she was just kept screaming my name over and over.
Ruining Jen's life. Horrible Karen screaming, coming out of this beautiful, wonderful sound, Aurora-like sleep. Oh, now her brain is working perfectly. Then she remembers, now her memory is sharp. Chris Albert stayed at the waterfall, so maybe it was with Chris. Maybe he was with Chris Albert, even though it's first thing in the morning and she has someone screaming her name. Her memory is on point, perfect.
And so then I remembered that Chris Albert had still been at the bar. So I thought, well, maybe John walked home with Chris because Chris lives close to the waterfall.
Even though her and John were so close that John calls Jen in order to tell Jen that he has a new girlfriend with MS, they don't talk. She doesn't have her phone number. Notice she uses dismissive language. This is just too much for Jen. The screaming, and she's out of control, and but they talk like girlfriends. But she doesn't have her number.
Talking like girlfriends. Yes, just talking like girlfriends. How regular, normal girlfriends would. Are we girlfriends? No.
Now, as far as Miss Reed, is that someone who had your phone number? Did you have her plugged into your phone as a contact before that date of January 29th?
No.
So never had any kind of conversation with her over the phone as far as a text or a phone call or anything. You didn't even have her information.
Correct.
And so after hanging up while calling Julie, what, if anything, did you do then?
And then I'm not sure if I called Kaylee back or if Kaylee called me back.
At some point you get back in touch with Kaylee or at least your phone, correct?
Yes, I get in touch with Karen again, and I say, Karen, we saw you outside of my sister's.
And what was her response to that?
She told me that she didn't remember going there, and then she started yelling Jen.
At this point, Jen McCabe's brain is in top function. She remembers Tom Beatty mentioning something about meeting John at the waterfall. Machine-like precision, her brain is working at optimum level. This isn't a preemptive strike at all. Great, let me call Tom. Maybe he went to Tom's. You know, she's really trying to help here. She's actually trying to help. We gotta go look for him now. We'll go to Tom's and we'll look for him, and then if he's not at Tom's, we have to go find him. We gotta go look for him. Why would she now go look for him? Why does he have to be found now? Now he has to be found? Jenny, starting to come undone. Looking like someone left the cake out in the rain.
My brain started going, okay, well, if she left him there, where could he be? Who could he be with?
And as you're going through that sort of process, what did you do next?
So then earlier in the night, there was another individual who we had been in contact with, or my husband had been talking to, and he had mentioned that he was gonna meet up with John at Waterfall as well, but he never ended up coming. I knew he was at a house close to Fairview, so I thought, well, maybe if they got into a fight, like John might have texted this individual, and maybe he just ended up on his couch.
Who was that individual?
Tom Beatty. So then I start calling Tom.
And at any point in time that you called Tom, did Tom pick up the phone? Did you speak with him?
He did not.
And so following that, what did you do from there?
So I know at some point I was starting to call John. My husband was as well. At that point, I get up and I'm like, okay, well, got to go out and look for him. And in my head, I was thinking I'll drive over to Tom's and maybe he's there.
Now Karen shows up at Jen's, inconveniencing the whole neighborhood. How dare she? Screaming. How dare Karen have the wherewithal to know exactly who to go to figure out what the fuck was going on? How dare she come in my neighborhood screaming when we have a Denali and a pool and cheese in the fridge for Matt? That fucking bitch. And Lally asked about John coming home, his pattern of going out and not coming back home, and there's two objections to it. But more important than anything, Karen, what was she doing? Screaming. Was it? Stupid Karen. What was she screaming about? Stupid everything.
And I'm not sure how much time passed, but then all of a sudden I hear screaming out front.
Now, if I could just take it back for a second, as far as a decade or so that you had known and been friends with John O'Keefe, with his either his niece or his nephew or both home, is him not coming home, is that something that had ever happened before, you were ever aware of before?
I was never.
Ask it differently.
Had John ever gone out at night and then not come home when the kids were home?
Objection. I'm going to allow it.
Not to my knowledge, no.
So at some point you make your way downstairs, is that right?
Correct.
And then what, if anything, did you hear once you were downstairs?
Screaming
And where was the screaming coming from?
out front.
And when you heard that screaming, where did you go?
I ran to my front door.
At some point, did you open your front door?
I opened my front door, correct.
And then what did you see when you opened the front door?
Miss Reed came running up my walkway.
Now this last part shows me two things about Jen. I don't know if she's ever known someone to be as kind as him. And Carrie taking him out to lunch. They thank you for buying their daughter's Reeboks. She goes, we took him to lunch to thank him because he was just like that. That's the kind of guy he was. I do see true sadness there. And the next part shows me what it looks like when she really doesn't remember. Ellie asks about Karen's middle console, what it looked like when you reversed. Do you remember seeing anything? And she says, I don't know. She genuinely doesn't remember in this moment, I think. Before, when she didn't know, she would find the answer up here. Oh, maybe she'd remember the glass. She'd think really hard about it and get psychic visions. This is actually what she looks like when she doesn't know something. So the other times, she was acting.
Then he took Carrie and I to the hillside for lunch just to thank him for, helping, because that's what he did.
Now, was Kerry Roberts someone that when you were operating Miss Reed's vehicle in reverse, what, if anything, showed up in sort of the center console area of that vehicle?
I do not remember. I don't know.
Do you recall anything as far as the camera or anything like that?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Back to the vehicle.